All right. Hello, everyone. Fabiola Philippine here from the Fabulous and Abundant Show, the only show that teaches you how to use science, feminism, and coaching to master your money mindset so you can manifest whatever you desire in life. And because you all know that I love to empower women, today on my show, I have my dear friend Nicole. She is a professional certified coach and certified daring way facilitator, using her over 15 years of experience in coaching, mentorship, leadership, and performance in service of helping people be woke, knowing that you are put on the planet for a purpose. Whatever it's to end the world hunger, love your family, there is a passion that drives you. And she wants you to know it and live it. Welcome, welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you for being my show.
Thanks for having me.
And can you hear me well?
I can, yes.
You probably want to get a little bit closer. Do you have a microphone? Or
No, if I talk louder, is that better?
well, probably my microphone, my speaker is not that loud. Okay.
All right.
So Nicole, tell us something. Teach us. Go ahead. I mean, I invite you because I wanted you to speak to the women of my show and how to let's empower women about managing their money and the right mindset to have our own money. Why don't we start with talking about what you specialize in, right? Which is, I'll let you talk on that, and then let's connect it with money. Yeah.
Okay. Your video on my end is kind of choppy. I don't know if it is on yours.
I wonder if my connection is a little bit slow.
Oh, okay. Well, now it's fine, of course. But anyway. So, yeah, the work that I do, so the whole thing of people being woke, I kind of feel, there's more to life than just the daily grind of, grow up, get an education, get a job, have a family, retire, die. That's the construct that we've created, but there's more to life than that. We were born with a passion. We were born with something to do on this planet, whether it's being the best father or mother or daughter or friend, or whether it's being the doctor that solves cancer. We all have a passion, something that drives us.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that passion kind of gets lost in the need to fit in or to fit into some idea of who we think we should be, or go the path that everyone says you should do. So I want people to realize that no, you can live your passion. There's people who take brand newborn babies on treks throughout the Sahara Desert. So you get to decide what the rules are for your life. So that's kind of what I help people do through coaching, through the Daring Way, which is a curriculum created by, or it's a methodology created by Dr. Brené Brown, who wrote several books like Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, and her most recent, Braving the Wilderness. And she just talks about how, how do we show up, be seen, and live brave in our lives, and all the stuff that goes with that.
Yeah. So let's talk about women that they have this preconceived ideas such as, I have to get married to be financially okay. Right. So how would you help a woman that think that way? Or what is, with your knowledge?
Well, even in that statement, like, I have to be married to be financially okay, that's a story. That's something that person has decided.
Yeah.
Because how many examples, even among your clients, that you can point to that that's not true for?
Yeah.
So at some point we adopt these stories, and then we look at whether do I measure up to that story or don't I? And if I don't measure up to that story, why don't I? And then our inner critic creates another story of why you don't measure up to that story. And then it just kind of spirals down from there.
Yes. Yeah. Again, it's those thoughts. I talk a lot about thoughts. Thoughts create our feelings. Feelings create our actions. Actions create your habits, and ultimately your destiny. So, and the beauty is that we have total control of our thoughts. So once we are aware that those thoughts are not serving us, so for example, this woman that says, if I don't marry, I won't be okay financially. So how would you approach her?
Well, yeah, it's challenging that belief. So what is okay financially, first of all? Like there's a story around what is it to be okay financially, that's tying that in with marriage. So maybe there's a belief that I don't have the ability within myself to generate enough wealth to support myself.
Yeah.
That I'm helpless, that I need somebody else to provide that for me.
Yeah.
Not to mention, again, some underlying something about being single. So take it from someone who is still single.
Yeah.
There can be a story around that.
Yeah, it's all those limiting beliefs that we, at some point in time, we bought, right?
Yeah.
So I always say that the first step, it's awareness, right? I mean, what are the stories that we're telling ourselves that are not allowing us to create the reality that we desire?
Yeah. And the key is really understanding what is the story. Because in that sentence, the only reality is, well, there's not a single reality in that whole sentence. Like if she's like, the reality that I can only make money with somebody, that's a story. The only reality is I am single. Period.
I am single.
Single. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's a fact.
That's the fact. So now that I know what the fact is, what can I create from here?
Right.
So I'm single, and I want to create, because needing is a belief.
Yeah.
I want to create financial stability.
Yeah.
So then you can actually generate the story of what financial stability looks like.
Uh-huh.
And remember that it's a story. You're choosing that that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can decide, well, how do I begin the journey to do that?
Yeah.
But knowing but square one is, it's you and what you want to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what you want to create. So let's give some tools here. Before giving the tools, let's talk about what stops women from taking that next step that makes them then take action and then ultimately like achieve their goals. Like what is it that inside of them is stopping them?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that tends to be the stoppers, well, the biggest thing is our inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that we're working against. That inner critic who is telling the story that it has to be this way and you can't do it because of this. The inner critic shows up because we are all neuroscientifically built with this part of our brain that wants to keep us safe and at status.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You're back.
Me?
I lost you at. you
Okay.
that your brain wants us to keep us at status quo.
Oh, now you're gone again. Oh, okay. Now you're back.
Okay.
So yeah. So some people call it the ego brain. So the ego is a really beautiful thing because it wants to keep us safe. And there was a saber-toothed tiger chasing us down. The ego brain knew how to sense danger and knew what it needed to do to get us away.
Mm-hmm.
Is we no longer are having to run away. The brain is not as smart because it doesn't know the difference between a real tiger and an imagined tiger.
Yes.
So it starts to create all of these rules for us of like, you can't do that because this might happen. You can't do that because that might happen. It's got this sense of fear, and then it starts to operate and do things to keep us safe. But what it's forgetting is that there's a part of us in our prefrontal cortex. There we go. I just got a doorbell there. So our prefrontal cortex, that higher part of ourself, can handle whatever comes at us. But when we allow that ego to drive us, it ends up getting in the way of everything we wanted to step out and risk and do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one answer.
So, yeah, our brain wants to keep us safe and wants to keep us in status quo, and yeah, anything outside of that is dangerous. So it stops us through inner critics, right?
Yeah.
And then you were mentioning earlier that, so is that when shame even comes into place?
Yeah. So shame is the voice that tells us, like, shame's kind of that, almost like the foundation of the inner critic. So shame is this belief that I suck, essentially, that I am not worthy of love and belonging. That can show up because we didn't have a parent that gave us that connection and that sense of love and belonging. It can show up when we were laughed at school and made fun of for reasons we don't even know why anymore. We just knew it happened. Shame says, you are not worthy. So then the ego steps in and says, okay, we don't want anyone to see that we're not worthy, because we are all driven by the need. We are all driven to belong. We all want connection. We all want to belong. So the ego wants to make sure that that happens. So the ego starts hustling and say, okay, we can't let anybody see this, because if they see this, then then they won't want us. So let's start generating all of these kind of caricatures of ourselves, or let's not show up for that. Like, let's not go for that job interview because then, that might happen. Let's not, or let's get lots and lots of money, and then nobody will see our shame, because then we'll be rich, and then we'll have great skin, and we'll be healthy and thin and nice cars, and everyone will be looking at our nice cars and our great skin. You gotta have a lot of money to have nice skin. I don't know. I have a belief, clearly. So that's how it works. It's just hustling to cover up the shame.
Yeah. And sometimes, so what I see with women is that when they don't, when they feel that they don't match a certain definition, then they stop from a certain definition that their family or the society impose on them. Then they stop themselves from achieving their goals because there's this shame, or there's fear of not belonging anymore to the family or to the society, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, for me, and then so what would you suggest that the solution would be there?
Well, just know that you're worthy of love and belonging. It's that simple.
As simple as that, yes. Yeah,
Um,
and why it's so hard to believe? Why, especially for women, we always find this external, benchmarks if we to feel that we are worthy, right?
well, and like a lot of it is like we're raised that way. Um, we're raised that we have to look like in this certain climate that we're in right now. If it's if evident, it is evident now that you have to look a certain way, be a certain way, and then you're worthy.
Yeah.
And as we know, women don't all fit into this one little stupid mold that somebody decided. So you have this little group of people that fit in, and guess what? They don't even feel like they fit in. They may hit all the markers, but they're still looking at all the ways that they don't fit in. So we have all these women who are believing like, I don't belong, I suck. So if we first of all realize, hang on, why are we all believing this? Why am I believing this? Because it came from outside of us. Someone said something to us. We saw something in a magazine or something on TV, or our parents treated us this way.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an agreement on our part that said, you're right.
Yeah.
So first we have to realize, hang on, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
That's your poop.
Yes.
Like those two kids in grade 3, they were having a day. My mom was having a day. Not necessarily my mom, if she watches this, but,
Yeah, but we know that parents have a huge, huge influence in our belief system, right?
Yeah. So first realizing that's not me. I am not crap. It takes a lot to get there, I'm not going to lie. So one of the antidotes to shame that Brené Brown talks about in her work is self-compassion.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So self-compassion is defined by 3 things. I'll say the 2 other things and then I'll come to the first one. So the one that I said where if we could all sit down in a room, which funnily enough, when you get a room full of women, we all sit there and say, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
And yet when we're on our own, we still buy into that message of I'm not enough, even though we can. So when we get in that room together, we realize we are not in this alone.
Yeah.
And I don't have to believe this. I am not alone in feeling not enough. I am not alone in feeling stupid because I went and said the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am not alone in wishing I was 30 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
So first of all, you are not alone. Then mindfulness. So mindfulness in the context of self-compassion is not over-identifying with a thought. So we have a thought. Well, and before that thought is even thought, our emotion has already reacted with it and is carrying on and creating all of these stories and stuff. So for example, so my car got towed. And the incident, and financially not in a great place, and I know the bill is going to be over $200. So what happened? Car got towed.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in my head? Of course it got towed. You suck. Why did you park there? Why didn't you look at the sign? You're so stupid. You're broke. You don't have the money for this. You're never going to have the money for this.
We're so mean to each other. Oh my gosh. To ourselves.
So that's a little bit of an example of over-identifying with an emotion, because like it was that instant like, and instead of just being with that feeling of like, damn it, I let my thoughts go. So being mindful, come back to what's really here, what's really happening. What's really happening is my car got towed. I've got to call the impound lot and go pay $200 some and we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing, and this is one of the, well, I shouldn't say it's the most important, but it's, is do I talk to myself the way I talk to someone I love? Yeah. So if a loved one came to me and said, my car got towed and I suck and I was so stupid and why do I always do that? And I'm always going to be broke. I don't have money for this. I'm broke. And I'm like, how would I, first of all, I would say, whoa, stop, hang on. What are you doing? But for ourselves, we just let that take go. And man, did we just.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Over and over. Yes.
So the key is stop, catch that thought. And an exercise I like to give to clients is to write down the thoughts. What do you hold against yourself? So a few years ago when I did this exercise for myself, I stopped after I hit 40 things. It's a lot.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And like one of them is, funnily enough, it was like, I don't have a Mac computer, or I don't have a home computer. That was one of the things I held against myself. Mm-hmm. Because I made it mean something about me. Like, I can't afford a home computer, and that means that I'm a failure at life, because everybody has home computers. So capturing those thoughts that you hold against yourself, and then taking them one by one, whether it's one a day or one every few days, or if you want to knock them off all at once. But I encourage people to take time and respond to it as though you were responding to a friend saying that.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a Mac computer, I'm a failure. Hang on. A computer does not define how smart you are, how funny you are, how caring, compassionate, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have a computer right now, and that's okay, because you're still worthy of love and belonging.
Yeah. I can think of myself saying not so nice things, and oftentimes they come out unexpectedly. Like, really, it's like they're so ingrained in my brain that I just speak them out, and then I'm like, did I really just said that to myself? Because now I'm more aware of my thoughts and what I say, but it just shows how it's so ingrained and deep inside that they just come out. It's just instant. And so it's that self-compassion, we need that, because it just takes a lot of time to change those thought patterns. But absolutely, like with your exercise, for example, it is possible to do it. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I want to go back just one step before the exercise. You mentioned there's 3. What is the antidote? You talk about the self-compassion, how you speak to yourself.
So the 3 qualities of self-compassion are, do I talk to myself the way I talk to someone I love?
Yes.
Common humanity, so knowing that you're not alone. And then mindfulness, which is not letting our thoughts run amok when something. Okay. Yeah.
So that's self-compassion. And so then the exercise, it's a tool that you recommend to help people start changing their thought process, right?
Yeah. So like you said, start becoming aware of how this stupid tape comes out. Try and catch those thoughts. And seriously, I had 40, and I stopped myself at 40 because I thought, this is a little silly, which is another thought.
Yeah.
So really becoming conscious of it, so then you can stop and say, hang on, what's really true? What would I say to someone I love? And then when you get those messages of love and compassion, then they start to practice them to form your language. Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the tools that I use with my clients is interesting point of view. Because it really takes away the charge around it. If you see your thoughts as just an interesting point of view, interesting, I have this point of view, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you start judging yourself or somebody's judging you, I say, well, that's an interesting point of view, because to help clients get into that momentum of allowing things to pass kind of through you, versus, as we said before, like hearing something and making it yours, agreeing. Whether you agree or resist, the end result is the same. You're going to make it a firm reality within you. So by using interesting point of view, it really takes away that charge. And personally has helped me a lot with certain things that would have triggered me in the past. Now I just hear information as interesting point of view, and I let them go pass by.
One of the other tools I like to use is, I call it thanks. Like, thank you for your feedback. It's a way of dealing with criticism or critique from others. So I say thanks because it's like THK is the acronym I use.
Uh-huh.
So when other people come to you and they give you feedback and you're kind of like, okay, and you're just kind of like, okay, thank you for your feedback. And then you have that moment to decide, do I take that on or not? Like you said.
Yes.
THK stands for, is it true? Is it helpful?
Yeah.
And is it kind? And if it's not those three things, then, like you said, let it go.
You say helpful,
is it
kind, true?
Is it helpful? Is it kind?
Kind.
So do that with yourself. So when I'm sitting there saying, I don't have a home computer. Yes, that's true. Is that helpful? Not really. Mm-hmm. Is it kind? Well, the energy I'm viewing it with is not kind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, brain. Thanks. I don't have a computer. Like, what do I do with that? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a year later, when I looked at the list again, after I'd bought a home computer, I looked at that list, and that was the thing. It was just like, seriously? Because that's another thing. Until you get your thoughts out of your brain and you realize the thoughts you're thinking, mm-hmm. then you have to have time to be like, seriously? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, inner critic, whatever you want to name it, go back to bed. Go home, you're drunk.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned that about, or earlier when we were talking about resilience. Do you want to touch base on that?
Yeah. So Brené Brown in her research, so what she did is like the type of research she does is, rather than coming up with a theory and trying to prove or disprove it, she creates a long series of questions and she interviews thousands of people and she looks for what comes out of the research. Mm-hmm. So when she started studying vulnerability, because her stuff didn't start in shame, because we all love that word shame, it started in vulnerability. So vulnerability is defined most simply by her as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So we all live in uncertainty. You know, in 2007, Calgarians were pretty certain that we would get away with building hundreds of amazing skyscrapers and beautiful new homes. And then a year later, holy crap, mm-hmm. There's empty construction holes in the ground and homes that were walked away from. So there's uncertainty, there's risk. And risk isn't about like, I'm going to invest $100,000 in peanut butter. Risk means I'm going to tell this person I love them. Or risk is, I'm going to go back to school to learn this. And then emotional exposure. So going back to that need for belonging and connection, in order to have true connection, we need emotional exposure. So how this connects to shame. Shame says, don't do it. It's not worth it. Just don't let them see this crap. We can't be emotionally exposed. We can't take risks. So she found that there was all these, like, we all struggle with shame, but she also identified a small group of people who, while they also experienced shame, they were able to move through it more quickly. They weren't as like trapped by it. And so she looked at this people and then she identified what are the qualities about them that make them more what she called resilient. Uh-huh. And resilience is defined by just the ability to, and disappointments, like the ability to just get up again and go. So she identified 10 qualities that she calls guideposts of wholehearted living. So cultivating these qualities and letting go of these other shame-driven qualities.
Mm-hmm.
So one example, looking at anxiety as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So in our world,
You for a second there, just because I want to bring it back to how this relates to money, right? And so I come across a lot of women that they leave all their finances to their significant other, to the male partner, because there's the fear of making a mistake, or there's the I think there's some kind of a shame there of because they don't feel knowledge enough. They just say, oh, just here, take it over, right? They don't want to take on that responsibility.
yeah. Well, it's a generational thing. Like, we learned that. Like,
Yeah.
it used to be, I think, even us in our age and younger, there's still that in our DNA that's the man's job.
Yeah.
So even though a woman actually may know enough, she probably still doesn't think she knows enough because men know more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with this lady last night. And so she's, I guess, the older generation, but she was saying how her husband takes control, has total control of their finances. But and when I ask her, would you be capable of? And she's like, yes, because I do it for my parents. She's in charge of the estate and all the finances of her elder parents. But there's a factor there of not, I think it's that vulnerability factor. But I think the issue is more on the men's side, where he has that control over finances because that's what a man should do, right? And I think that she doesn't want to take that away from him. However, that puts her in a position where she's not aware of the family finances, right? So she's capable, but I don't know, she's just has this fear, I guess, of confrontation with him.
Yeah. Well, that's another way that shame can show up, is in these ideas of these roles.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a woman, like, and that's how, like, speaking of shame, because it's not just women who suffer from it, because men, the areas that they tend to experience the most shame, more increasingly around body issues, but like success, and that I am the provider. So how many husbands, like, I think, how many husbands have screwed up their finances because they didn't want to be honest with what's going on, and that they thought they were supposed to be the provider, the one doing it all, and then they ruin their family financially.
Yeah.
And then the woman is left with, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
So because the fear was don't want to step on toes, don't want to, like, all, again, stories.
Yeah.
Just made up crap. Like, just let it go.
Yeah. And I always say that, one of the two, if has more familiarity or it's more practical, sure, they can take over the finance, but doesn't mean absolutely to hide, lack of transparency. Both of them need to know what's going on. And I told her, and the way that I communicate that with her is, if something happens to your husband tomorrow, like, do you even know that you can stay in your own home, because it's apparently held in a trust? And so who's the beneficiary of the trust? She didn't know. So, those are huge information that needs to be laid out. And you said it very well. It's just that fear of stepping on the other person's toe, but the risk is so big.
The shame voice, it's the shame voice when the first thing, like, when you say, well, who are you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
So how many women have said, who do I think I am to take charge of my family's finances? What do I think I know about doing it? Because again, like I said, the woman could know just as much, like the wife can know just as much as the husband
Absolutely.
about finances, but still believe she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
because the husband knows more.
Yeah.
And it's not based on anything. They never sat down and took a test. It's just an ingrained assumption.
Yeah.
And the voice of shame says, well, who are you to know that anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually are women who suffer from that, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I find
Well,
that.
men do too, but we just don't hear about it.
They're not that open. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They're supposed to be tough and have it all together. So far be it for them to say, actually, I don't have it all together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what an amazing world. Like when they say that finances are the #1 destroyer of marriages,
Yeah.
how powerful would it be if we could all just live our truth, be honest and open, and not worry about shame and looking bad, and just say, it is what it is. Let's look at this.
Yeah, we will be certainly more ahead and less divorces would be claimed. Yeah. Yeah. So then, sorry, I interrupt you when you start talking about the resilience.
Right. So the 10 guideposts of wholehearted living, which we won't go through all 10, but looking at the one specific, like how you can apply it to the finances and how we approach
Yeah.
it. So one of the things, so for example, we talk about anxiety as a lifestyle. So very much in our society, like, ever since, what's the movie with, why can't I think of it? And I can't even think of the actor now. He's gone out of my head. Mr. like the investor dude and always be closing guy. What movie is that?
Oh crap! I'm horrible with movies, but what I can say, I've come across a lot of women that has huge anxiety around money because it's like they have this fear of owning money, so they, for example, do not even own a house because they don't want to have the burden of a mortgage, anxiety of not having enough, not being able to
having it all. Like I'm going to be a mother, a wife, a CEO, and like the anxiety and drive to be all of this.
Yeah.
So the counter to that is to cultivate calm and stillness. And when you think about cultivating calm and stillness and how it can counter that shame message. So shame says, I'm not enough, and therefore you got to hustle to be worthy. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Instead, it's saying, actually, no, I am enough. I have enough. I am enough. And I'm going to be calm. Because anxiety creates nothing but anxiety.
Anxiety, it's when you live in the future, right? You're trying to control the future, which is impossible.
So there's that brings up another guidepost. So the need for certainty. So when you think about it, like we're all, we all think that this day, tonight it's whatever time. And I know after this, I have this, and then I'm going to go drive to this place and buy, blah, blah, blah. And by this time tonight, I'll be back in my bed and sleeping, hopefully through the night. There is no certainty that that's going to happen. At the very least, your plans just might change because someone cancels or your car doesn't start. And at the worst, you end up in the hospital or something horrible happens. I mean, it's the worst case scenario, terrible. But we do not have certainty. So the key to wholehearted living is to cultivate intuition and trusting faith. And again, when we know that I'm enough, that what I have is enough, then I can trust that what comes my way, I will deal with it. And I will work through it. And trusting that intuition. So many times I have this gut feeling about something, but I go the opposite direction. And sure enough, like if I just gone with my intuition, and then the other thing, like how it relates to money that I really think is powerful is scarcity versus gratitude. So in order to counter that scarcity mentality, so scarcity against saying, I don't have enough, there's not enough time, money, education, whatever, that feeling of lack, the counter to that is to cultivate gratitude. So when you think about somebody who has lost everything, so when we see like the hurricane, the people who have lost their homes in hurricanes or fires, again up in Fort Mac, all of a sudden they have this sweeping sense of, we got our dog, we made it out with our lives. All of a sudden their gratitude for what they have goes up. So what would change in our lives if we were truly grateful for what I have now? Because I can sit here and I live in a less than 400 square foot studio apartment, or I call no bedroom home, or all bedroom home. I can sit there and focus on the fact that I can't have guests sleep over. There's not enough cupboard space. I have to put all my summer clothes underneath I can, all the stuff that I lack. Or I can say, I have enough space for all the dishes I need and all the food, and I have a fridge for my food, and I have food in my fridge. I have laundry. I have a bed to sleep in, and it's big that I could stretch out. If I'm truly grateful for what I have, then all of a sudden it's like, well, what more do I need? And in fact, I don't know how I would keep more than this clean. I seriously struggle to keep this small space clean. The fact that I don't have a bedroom to hide stuff in makes it really good, because then when people come over, I have to clean up.
Yeah.
Practicing gratitude.
Yeah, they say that the word thank you has one of the highest energetic levels, vibration levels.
Right.
So it puts you in a higher and more positive state. Right. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me, and I'm sorry. Those 4 words together. Have you ever heard the Ho'oponopono prayer?
No.
So it's an ancient Hawaiian prayer that they use to meditate with, and so to bring calmness within you. You can YouTube it, and you will see a lot of meditation videos with the Ho'oponopono prayer, and it's only simply repeating over and over again. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you, and thank you.
Huh.
And it just and I do it actually while I'm swimming. It's like a mantra that I keep repeating, and when I'm done swimming, I feel like a new person. Yes. So if people are in a bad state, if they are in state of anxiety, I mean, I think that's so practicing great gratitude, certainly it's one of those antidotes. Yes. Well, what else can we add to our listeners? I mean, this was great tools. Anything else that you want to add?
I think the biggest thing is just knowing, like especially as we bring it back to this idea around money and worthiness and enoughness, is that your worthiness is not equated with the size of your bank account, how much you can throw down on a table when you go out with your friends for dinner or drinks. Your worthiness is not based on externals. Your worthiness is an internal sense that you are worthy of love and belonging. We all are. Mm-hmm. And our society has made up rules of what that looks like, and it's up to us to decide whether that's true or not, because there are pockets in the world and pockets within our own little society or city of people that would say, actually, none of that matters to me. Like, I just want to be with you because I want to be with you.
Yeah.
And first of all, can you look in the mirror and say, I just want to be with you because I want to be with you. And when we can look in the mirror and be with ourselves, all of ourselves, and without putting these conditions on ourselves,
That's
where
very nice.
the true power comes.
You know, I can think of, you made me think of, there's a lot of males here in Calgary that are afraid that women wants them only because of the money
Right.
that they make, you know, in oil patches and in this big oil and gas companies, right? But I think that is just projecting, right? Because basically what they're saying is, I really don't have nothing else to give, right? That's all that I have, money. And so the fear, it's really like they're speaking the truth of them. It's just they don't have nothing else except the money. And so they have, yeah, they have that fear. And I think that's then a vibration and energy that they put out there, and automatically, who do you think they're going to attract? Women who just are looking for money, right?
Well, and here's the thing. I think, because when people say, I just want money and then I'll be happy, and I'll be like, nope, I call BS on that. They want, because they use money as an excuse to show up and be seen. They give themselves permission because they have the money. So I was talking to this guy, and he told me, like, he is insisting. It's like, no, I will be confident when I have money. And I said, so you're telling me that until you have money, you're not going to be confident? He's like, well, and he tells me the story of a guy, his friend, and they were at a bar. His friend had his BMW key fob thing. And he said, watch this, to his friend. And he's like, he bumps into the girl looks at him up and down and just turns away and whatever. And then he puts his keys down to where she can see them. And then all of a sudden she stops and turns and looks at him. And then they start having this conversation. So the guy I'm talking to, he uses that as his story to prove that women want money and money is what attracts. And I said to him, no, because that money, the fact that he had money gave him the confidence to first say to you, watch this, and then to do that to the girl. He gave himself permission. He could have done that without the BMW.
Yeah.
But he gave himself permission. So I think, and because I said to him, are you telling me that you have nothing more to offer other than a bank account? And he couldn't really say anything, because it's BS. Because I'm sorry, like, at the end of the day, when you lose everything, like if we stripped away everything that we've created, what are we left with but one another and who we are to each other and with each other?
Yeah.
But we use money as, okay, now I have enough money, now I can go out and pick up women.
Yeah.
And women are like, now I have enough, now I'm thin enough, because that's how it shows up for us. And funnily enough, money and food are very intertwined. But now I'm thin enough, and now I'm successful. Well, I mean, ever since the 80s of women like getting into the workforce, and I'm going to be like the man, and I'm going to be strong and powerful. So now I'm proven that I'm enough.
Yeah. And what people don't understand is that the first thing that needs to change is the belief. Because whenever the belief, evidence will show up.
100%, yeah.
So whatever's your belief, that's gonna be the reality that your brain is gonna show you. And even if opposite evidence shows up, your brain is just gonna make it's gonna just argue that and just confirm the belief.
Yeah.
So it really has to start with the belief, with that thought that then has a domino effect on your feelings, on your words, on your actions, and on your destiny. Yeah. So Yeah. So, I mean, if your friend he decided he choose to believe that he needs money to get a girl, well, that's what he will need to get a girl. And I won't be surprised if after 20 years, he loses the girl, if that's all that he can offer. Yeah.
Well, and then stop. Like sometimes I'm like, stop to consider: is that really what you want? Like, so is that the kind of woman you want? So are you going to hustle to get the money so you can get the woman? Are you going to be happy? Like, and the thing is, again, like, yeah, we don't challenge these beliefs. We don't ask, is it really true?
Sorry, I'm muted. I mean, everybody has the liberty to choose whatever they want, and live the life that they want. For me, there's no right or wrong. But at the end of the day, what I always tell my clients is like, what is it that you desire, right? Yeah. And based on what they desire, then we need to see if there's a match on the belief system, in their values, and if there's not, most likely that's the case, because otherwise they will have what they desire. Then we need to reverse engineer and start with the thoughts and empower this woman,
Yeah. Is that desire being driven by a scarcity shame mentality, or is that desire being driven from a wholehearted mentality?
Yeah, and I guess that both can work, maybe, but the scarcity mentality will be a little bit more suffered.
Yeah.
Right? It's like being driven by fear versus driven by by empowering beliefs and
by authenticity, by self-compassion.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. It's a choice.
And the first step is becoming aware.
Yeah.
Like is it the blue pill or the red pill? Getting out of the matrix of believing it is this way. It's like, well, it is that way because you've chosen to believe it is that way.
Yeah.
So I like to use the example of Mozart, because there was a certain way of writing music, that you were supposed to write music this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mozart came along, and then he just did whatever the heck he wanted, and all the people around him like, you can't do that, and he's like, whatever, watch me. And the stupid thing is, we studied Mozart's music, and then we made up new rules of how to write music based on Mozart.
Yeah.
So we made rules from the rule breaker. So I just say to people, be the rule breaker, dare to be creative, like dare to stand out and to make something different, because guess what? We made all of this up. So what do you want to make up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do we want to create?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been almost like an hour that we have been talking.
Holy.
Yes. So, yeah, it's amazing conversation. So, thank you so much, Nicole, for your input, for your amazing input. I'd love to have you again on the show, because I'm sure that a lot of women enjoy our conversation. And thank you all for listening. And I will see you soon, sometime next week, with another great woman with great tools to empower you to achieve whatever you desire in life. Okay, so thank you, Nicole, again.
Thank you.
Oh, and where can people find you?
Oh, I have Nicole Owen Coach. Yeah, NicoleOwenCoaching.com. Okay. And ICOLE, so there's no H, OWEN. And if you're a performing artist, I also have the performersadvantage.com, which is it's a program to support performing artists, to help them basically not be depressed, anxious, and suicidal, to love being a creative performer and dealing with all of the inner stuff that kind of gets in the way of that.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you all. And I'll see you next till next day. Bye.